You're listening to E-commerce Fastlane, episode 40.
Welcome to E-commerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, launch, grow, and scale a wildly successful e-commerce company. Listen to real conversations with proven practical strategies and success stories. Learn how to generate more traffic, more sales, more profit, and customer lifetime value for your Shopify store. And now, your host and e-commerce entrepreneur, Steve Hutt.
Hey there, it's Steve, and welcome back to the E-commerce Fastlane podcast. Now, this is your first time listening. This is an e-commerce show where we have honest and transparent conversations about building and thriving online with your store powered by Shopify or Shopify Plus. Now, new episodes are available each week with your favorite podcast player through iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify, or you can sign up now online at ecommercefastlane.com and be notified when a new show is being released. Now, on today's episode, I'm chatting with Mark Galli, who is the CEO of Zeus, and they are, as they claim, and I'm sure we're going to learn, that they are the first CRM for B2C marketers. It's a big word, it's a big term, and I'm sure he's up for the challenge to share what they're up to today. I was thinking a lot about this in terms of customer interactions that are happening like every day. Shopify brands and marketers really need to figure out how to drive repeat purchases and really grow the average order value, the increased customer loyalty, regardless of where they are in any channel on the internet. But the problem is that channel-centric solutions kind of leave these touch points a little bit disconnected. If you go into, for example, if you go into your Shopify admin and you notice that you may have different apps and different solutions all doing different things, but they all have their own analytics. They all have, it's almost, I would say, a duct tape solution. But, I think marketers really feel that they're doing the right thing by being in these different channels, but they're not turning off the other independent solutions based on success or lifetime value. And I think knowing that, it makes it kind of almost impossible to figure out the cross-channel impact of what your marketing is doing when you have multiple solutions all running independently. And you're forced at that point just to kind of optimize for the basics like opens and clicks and visits. And, instead of, as I mentioned, like maximizing customer lifetime value. And I think with the increase of these channels, you'll learn about Zeus. It's a solution that really is now built to put all of this together into one platform. Like literally it plugs in all of your existing infrastructure and it unifies all of your customer interactions into one system of record. So this will now allow you, and I'm sure we're going to learn about it, but it will allow you to engage your customers in real time, when they're most likely to make a purchase. And Zeus is the single source of truth when it comes to your data. And it really empowers you to understand this cross-channel revenue. And they also help automate some campaigns to drive repeat purchases, growing average order value and increasing loyalty. And, most importantly, it's just this maximizing customer lifetime value. I mean, that's the holy grail. The show is exciting for me because I feel that it's a weakness of a lot of marketers. And I think it's great timing now. If you love marketing and you really like to make data-driven decisions to grow and scale your brand, I really think you're going to love this episode. So let's jump in. So hi, Mark. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Steve. And it's certainly a pleasure to be here.
I apologize a little bit of having a large introduction there. I took some time to really dig into the Zeus platform. You really are doing something very innovative, and I feel that it's very timely to have you on the show. I want to kind of set the stage a little bit about what you kind of do to make sure those that are listening today understand the benefits of why they should continue listening to this whole episode. So on a high level, can you just share, I've shared a little bit already, but what does Zeus do and what problem does it solve for Shopify store owners and brands?
Of course. And you did a fantastic job with that introduction. I think what you're describing or described is that today marketers are really faced with a wave of data and a wave of disparate systems, right? Every marketer knows that they need to be data driven and they know that they need to be customer centric. But the difficulty lies that a typical B2C marketer has on average 12 and a half different systems. And that means there's data to be analyzed, there's personalization, and there's interactions that's happening across all of those different systems. And as a result of that, marketers are practically being asked to be data scientists to kind of make sense of all of that. And then on the flip side, they also are struggling to create and architect delightful experiences straight across all those different systems. And it's a monumental task that we all know. Mm-hmm. So we, as you described, we solved this problem by harvesting data across all those different systems. So we do truly create that single view of the customer from the first time they interact with the brand in an anonymous state, straight up through loyal. And by creating that single view of the customer, we then enable the marketer to actually drive action from that. So whether it's across a traditional channel like email, push, even segment syncs into Google and Facebook, or web push and Facebook Messenger. But at the same time, marketers are being asked to be data scientists. They're also being asked to drive and architect experiences beyond those traditional marketing channels, like in service and helping the merchandiser. So we deliver what we call assists, not only across those traditional marketing channels in the form of campaigns and recommendations, but even assisting customer success managers and service applications like Zendesk, or surfacing what we call hidden gems, which essentially is individual product performance and relative product performance across an entire company's catalog to help drive the merchandisers' decisions as well. So it really becomes, as you said, that single source of truth of the customer and the interactions, and then empowering the marketer to make sense of it in an easy but powerful manner. And then ultimately, empowering or driving those interactions across traditional as well as complementary channels.
That's excellent. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. It's nice to have to hear it from the founder, to actually understand exactly why you built what you built. And it kind of leads me into my next question that I feel is just important to kind of set the stage a bit about the Zayas and why you built what you built. But, being a founding partner, can you kind of share what your skills and your desire was to kind of want to build a technology company like this? Like, do you have a backstory of your career and how Zayas came to be?
So I've been fortunate enough to partner with a technical founder, a gentleman by the name of Spencer Pingree, fantastic individual. And, he really had the genesis of the idea and the identification of the problem. So he was fortunate enough to build AOL's first data warehouse, in his own words, when AOL was relevant in the late 90s. And what he recognized as the technologists involved in the project for many, many years, as that data warehouse continued to evolve, was that the marketer owned the problem of, what do I do next? How do I architect that experience with the customer? But at the same time, they didn't own the solution to the problem. They didn't have access to the data that they needed to answer that continuous question that a marketer has of, what do I do next? That's really the genesis of the idea. You have to empower the marketer with those insights and recommendations that are simple but powerful at the same time.
What are some of the challenges that you see with Shopify brands today to be more data-driven, and I guess to be the scientist and to help and impact a lot of different people from within an organization? Like, are there things that you've seen with your interactions with brands?
I think the biggest challenge is the fact that they have 12 and a half different systems on average. And in each of those systems is a slightly different view of the customer. And what a marketer is faced with is, how do I make sense of all that information? And how do I even bring it together to try and create a complete view? And it's very, very difficult. So I think the biggest thing is, a company, as they continue to mature, they need to have a place where there is that consolidated view of the customer. They need a single source of truth. And as a company continues to evolve, you're going to ingest more and more data from different systems. So I think it's important to kind of recognizing that understanding your customer and architecting a flow or a type of engagement or experience is the most important thing. And as a company continues to evolve, the level of sophistication of that will certainly change. So I think it's just important to recognize that you need that single view of the customer and that single source of truth, which then, and internally, we always talk about the marketer as the person who, whether the business is doing well or even whether the business is trying to enter a new phase of growth, the marketer is the person that's asked, what do I do next? And it's important for them to make the investment in a system that ultimately consolidates what that customer view is.
Right. So let's get into marketing tactics then. And we talk about the marketer. It looks like they're making a lot of decisions, and it's great to have a platform with a single source of truth, as you said, and having all these systems in one, because that's kind of what I see a lot when I look into the admins of lots of Shopify brands is many, many systems, all with great intention. But the reality is they're trying to disseminate the data from each one and knowing which one is having impact. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, like, should you stop an SMS campaign when they've converted on an email cart recovery? And because it can really interrupt the whole customer experience when you're continuing getting coupon codes sent to you when you've already converted. Have you seen that sort of thing happen?
We absolutely have. I think the biggest thing that we see is when a company takes the philosophy of less is more, that's when they're able to overcome those challenges, because they think about linking campaigns across multiple channels, which is absolutely important. So they think about the customer, not what should I do on SMS? What should I do in email? And I think what's important to that is companies that are successful also start to blend promotional content with behavioral content. We see time and time again that a company will have looks at their data and says 5% of their messages, regardless of channel, 5% of their messages drive upwards of 50% of their revenue attributed to that messaging. And that's because it's being delivered behaviorally at a particular event. But I would say equally important too is that behavioral data that's relevant to that individual is included in the content. So we all send newsletters out, right? And newsletters absolutely play a critical role in communication for any company. But behavioral data relevant to the individual customer should be included in that promotional message. And And the same goes true with a push notification. The same goes through with an SMS text. Like, it needs to be relevant to that individual customer. So we see that companies that take this less is more approach start to think holistically across multiple channels, but then also think about, hey, yes, I need to send out, and it's important to send out promotional data, but what behavioral data that's relevant to that individual customer should I include in that? So it makes each message that much more efficient, so they can actually pull back in the quantity of messaging that they're sending, but see higher engagement levels.
So let's jump into the Zayas platform now. So can we explain what would a user find or uncover when they get access to the platform? So they've logged in, and I know it's hard because we're not doing a video today, but can you explain, let's say a marketer decides that, yeah, this is something that I see value in, having single source of truth, having all my channels into one. What do they get when they log in?
Yeah. So this is what's beautiful about being a member of the Shopify and Shopify Plus ecosystem. So with the pre-built connector, you literally put in your Shopify credentials, and within a matter of minutes, we're pulling all the order history data over. We're pulling all the customer information over, and we will immediately start to track all the individual user behaviors within Shopify and Shopify Plus. And if it's integrated into other systems as well, we'll immediately stitch users together and synchronize activity data to the order history data and to the interaction data, which is coming in. So immediately what you'll see is, and we talk a lot about the life cycle and the life cycle metrics within Zayas. So you'll immediately see a complete view of all of your customers, starting from anonymous users the first time that they're hitting the website to identified to a loyal stage. So you'll see the entire customer lifecycle painted right in front of you. by transactions, but then also purchasing intent within each of those individual kind of like transaction histories. You'll have these segments and then these individual subsegments. You'll then see life cycle metrics. So how are you doing? How many customers have you moved from a first purchase to a second purchase, whether it be today, yesterday, any kind of different time period, year over year, quarter over quarter, last week versus this week. So complete flexibility of those life cycle metrics. And then you can look at any individual customer segment by things like average order value, lifetime value. So you get a complete view of your customers. You then get a complete view of all of your life cycle metrics. And then you can dive into all the way down into any individual customer. So you can apply no segments, any particular kind of segments in there, whether they be behavioral, whether they be technographic related, whether they be product related, whether they be life cycle related, all the way down to an individual customer. And you'll see that just by ingesting the historical Shopify customer data. But then it becomes living and breathing in real time. We're ingesting all that behavioral data. We're ingesting all the new orders and purchases and views. So that profile and that richness of the data only gets deeper and deeper. And the more systems you integrate with Zaius, the deeper the profile becomes and the more powerful your insight into your customer's behavior truly becomes. So you start off in a fantastic position and it only gets better once you're up and integrated.
So I understand that Zaius is doing or has a significant upgrade that's happening very soon. So this is kind of inside information at this point. Maybe it's not publicly available, but can you share what this new feature called assisted marketing and what the details are of it?
Steve, we're really excited about this. So we've been living and breathing this notion of assisted marketing for a long time. For us internally, it's a rally cry to delivering continuous value to our customers, whether that be through our product, whether it be through the content that we're delivering, or whether it be through our customer success organization. Now, as part of this launch, we're going to be branding ourselves as an assisted marketing company. But what's important to that is we're also going to be infusing artificial intelligence and machine learning into the overall application. So things like time to next purchase. I already talked about hidden gems and product performance. We're going to be doing things like replenishment cycles that are not only customer specific, but also product specific. We're going to be introducing service assist, so integrations into applications like Zendesk, where we're going to be surfacing to the customer success manager key elements of the profile, including lifetime value. We're going to be providing click streams of what are the activities that the customer's done in the past, as well as what did they do very, very recently. And then we're even going to be providing the customer success manager product recommendations so that they can take what was a service interaction and make it a blended sales and service interaction. And as I mentioned on those hidden gems, and we think about product performance, we're going to be assisting the merchandiser by highlighting aggregate and individual product performance against things like views and purchases. So that this notion of assists is about surfacing insights, surfacing recommendations to the marketer that are relevant in their communications, but then even taking that marketing data and assisting complementary organizations and departments, as I described, both on the service side as well as the merchandising side.
Yeah, so it does sound like it's a game changer. Like it's obviously you're quite excited. You've been building this for a while now.
We have. We're thrilled with it.
Do you have any case studies that you can maybe share with the listeners today about what other Shopify brands are doing to kind of, I guess, crush it today, being in 2019, based on the platform or any kind of insights that you have found with Zaius?
Yeah, one of the joint customers that I think about when I think about this whole notion of less is more is a company called Stio. So Stio is an outdoor clothing company. They're in Jackson Hole. One of the famous quotes from them is that data is not only available within Zaius, but also dynamic and actionable. And what's key here is they are one of those companies. So for them, 2% of their email volume drives nearly 50% of their email revenue. but they've gone even beyond just email to understand what's important to their customers at the point of interaction. So, for example, if they have a first purchaser who's left a product in a cart. So, cart abandonment is one of those key behavioral triggers, but this will describe how they've taken something that's core for most companies, but adapted it to the individual customers to increase engagement, revenue, in this case, profitability. So if they have a first-time purchaser that has left a product in a cart, for example, they will offer them a promotion to drive that second purchase, right? But what they've recognized is when a customer's loyal, they don't want a discount. So what they do is they send a message from their CEO. They send a message from one of their brand ambassadors. They see higher conversion. They're less reliant on that discount. So they're ultimately more profitable from that. And without understanding that, without testing that, without looking at what actually drives user engagement and have access to all that data, it's a simple insight and it's a simple thing to ultimately do in our product or any product for that matter. But what's important is that they understand that what motivates their individual customer is that message from that brand ambassador, the message from the CEO. It's the emotional attachment to the brand, which is actually driving that repeat purchase for them. So they infuse that brand related content in their messaging. So truly for them, less is more. And it was the understanding of the customer to tailor even a simple and core component like cart abandonment to drive higher revenue, higher profitability, and ultimately higher engagement and higher repeat purchase.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm looking forward to having this updated on the show notes for the assisted marketing and maybe some links to more details about it. I think that's an incredible upgrade to the platform, more than just having the data available based on all these systems together into one, but then having some action, as you called it, dynamic and actionable data. Really exciting of kind of where that's headed for you. And it's timely with the AI and the machine learning as far as making proper decisions based on your data and your customer interactions with your site.
And what I would add is that Stio in this case, but all of our other customers then take those insights and add additional channels. So they, for example, are taking their high lifetime values and synchronizing those segments into Google and Facebook. So while they may be spending the similar dollars on Google and Facebook, they're able to target through their lookalike campaigns against their high value customers. So they're seeing greater efficiency and greater targeting in their lookalike and acquisition, ultimately taking that insight from the customer and pushing it into other key marketing components and other key channels.
Yeah, I like that. I like that lookalike audience tactic with the high value customer. That's a good one. Let's talk about the future of Zayas for 2019. Is there any way you could share some of the roadmap and what you're planning, other than the assisted marketing part that's on its way, likely when this show is being released? Is there anything else that you can share moving into the future?
We're really excited about 2019. What's key for us moving forward is to make sure that the insights are actionable for our customers in a simple and powerful way. So we have pre-built recipes within our overall product, and we're going to continue to make investments in those recipes so that a customer, for example, is able to take a content element like cross-sell and upsell and just literally drag that into whether it's a targeted messaging and a push notification, whether it's an email, whether it's an on-site modal, but it's tailored particularly for the individual customer who starts to engage with that overall brand. So how do we take these insights, make them pre-built recipes, which would be a full-blown campaign, or even make them these sort of content blocks that they can infuse into other messaging? So we talked about the need to absolutely promotional messaging is key for any company, but add behavioral content as well. So for us throughout 2019 is we're going to continue to make pre-built blocks, pre-built campaigns that any marketer can quickly get up and running easily start to experiment and then ultimately tailor for them. So we need to make sure that the power of data is approachable to our customers. So going beyond just the machine learning, the artificial intelligence, and the predictive capabilities of assisted marketing, how do we assist marketers by taking that power and making it easy through pre-built content, pre-built recipes that they can then tailor as their level of sophistication continues to grow.
Well, Mark, we're nearing the end of the show for today. Do you have any kind of closing comments or any takeaways that you would like to leave with our listeners today?
Yeah, I think what's really important is that any merchant find a platform or platforms that grow with them. So I think Shopify and Shopify Plus are a perfect example of that, right? So when companies are starting out, when they're growing, and then when they're reaching high levels of maturity, the Shopify platform can do that. So I think as marketers embark on the journey in the early days, and I'm sure we've got a wide variety of different people listening to us today, companies that are in the growth stage or companies that are even more mature, find a marketing platform that ultimately grows with you, and find a marketing platform that really puts the customer at the center and allows you to glean insights from anonymous users straight up to your most loyal customers. And when I think about growth, what I think is the marketer's demands continue to build as a company grows. And so how are you going to handle that kind of wave of data that's ultimately coming? And then the other big thing that we see is that the marketers are being asked to go beyond those traditional marketing channels. And I'm not talking about just Facebook Messenger and Twitter and Instagram and segment syncs into Google and Facebook beyond the sort of email push and web push. But I'm thinking about how do you architect a customer experience and inform the customer success manager and managers when they're interacting with either your most loyal customers or even customers that are on the cusp of purchasing again? How do you make sure that they delight in that experience? And then how do you inform the merchandisers with overall product performance? So really think about making the investment in a platform that will grow with you over time. We think it's that foundational platforms, just like Shopify, that are important when any merchant is thinking about their complementary application.
So how can people learn more about the platform and get started with Zayas?
Yeah, so we'd love it if you went to Zayas.com. We've got a wealth of information there, great set of blogs and podcasts that are appropriate for any company. If you're interested in investigating our product, there are obviously ways to download white papers as well as demos on Zayas.com. But we'd love for you to visit it. We'd love for you to consume some of those blogs and podcasts that we create on our own, and certainly hope that they'll help any merchant in their journey.
Also, you can go to ecommercefastlane.com/Zayas. That's spelled Zaius. And that's going to redirect you to a landing page. And Mark has been very generous to offer a 10% discount for anybody that signs up to the platform. And Mark, can you give us a few more details?
Yeah. So, thanks again, Steve, for having me on the show. And, we're thrilled to offer that 10% discount to anyone who mentions this podcast as they're reaching out to us, or as you mentioned, visits the URL and registers through there.
Well, Mark, thanks again for coming on the show today. I'm going to have some post kind of follow up on this show, but just on the surface, I really think you offered a tremendous amount of value to people. That really, my takeaway is that it seems that there's a lot of separate systems out there, and I think marketers have a lot of really great intention to want to do well. But you've kind of hit the nail on the head, saying that roles are changing quite a bit now because competition's increasing. That we need to start almost being data scientists and being involved in merchandising and really helping impact. Like you said, the marketer is kind of sitting in the revenue seat, and it's a super important position to be in. But you also need to have a platform and a process in place. And now with these insights that we have available now, I think we're in a very, very exciting time in marketing when it comes to e-commerce. So thanks again for coming on the show and sharing all this today.
Thank you, Steve.
I hope you enjoy my conversation with Mark Galley from Zaius. And all the links mentioned on today's episode is available at ecommercefastlane.com/40. 40 for episode 40. And that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you, a loyal listener of this show, and it's my hope this podcast is just offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, launch, grow, and scale with Shopify. Thank you for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of your week and keep thriving with Shopify.